Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next installment of Know Your Trock, where we give you the opportunity to learn a little bit about the dancers, and in this case, our ballet master, who are currently in our roster within the company. We designed this series to give you the opportunity to see and learn a little bit more about them, besides just the wig, the makeup, the technique, and the comedy. So, as I just said, on this episode, we have this wonderful person right here who's a dear friend of mine. Hi, Rafa.
Hello, hi everyone.
Raffaele Morra. So, without further ado, Rafa, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself before you join the Trox? A little bit of where do you come from, your training and technique, and how did you first hear about the company?
Absolutely. So I'm Italian, and I am from near Torino, which is in the northwest of Italy, near France. And I've always loved ballet. I've always loved dance, and I started to train in my hometown for about 5 years. And but then soon I had to move to Torino in order to finish my training, and I graduated from the Accademia Regionale di Danza del Teatro Nuovo di Torino.
Okay.
And automatically I started to work with the company of the same theater, again, Compagnia di Danza Teatro Nuovo di Torino. And I worked there for about 6 years. And we were classically trained, mostly the Cuban methodology, because the theater had a connection with the Ballet Nacional de Cuba, so all the teachers were from Cuba. Well, not all the teachers were from Cuba, so we had different inputs from different teachers as well, but the major training was with the methodology from Cuba. And so classically trained, but then when I started to work, we were doing mostly contemporary work.
Okay.
Of course, I've heard about the Trox because there were videotapes that already circulated, and at the time, videotapes, VHS. Right. And of course, I loved the Trox. I didn't really think it was going to be my future.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really appeal to me as something I wanted to do when I watched the videotape, but I liked it. It was interesting enough.
How old were you about this time? Like what you're talking about?
From
20s?
22, 23, something like that, when I already knew what the Trox were and I was starting to work with the company. So in around 99, 2000 is when I realized that I actually needed to move on a little bit from what I was doing. And not because I wasn't happy with what the company was dancing, but I wasn't really feeling satisfied with what I was doing. And let me explain that. I was doing wonderful choreographies from wonderful choreographers, and I really had a lot of fun in what I was doing. But I realized that touring in Italy, especially in small towns, the audience was not understanding our performance. A little bit too complicated for them to understand. They were not so easy understandable. It was not just a fairy tale. It was something more psychological sometimes. It's with contemporary ballet. Sometimes you want to be a little bit too psychological, or there is a hidden meaning, some object that is on stage that you really don't know what it means, but it represents something. And there wasn't a connection between what I was doing, and even though I was having fun with it, the audience wasn't understanding. It wasn't receiving. There wasn't a communication. And I always found that I'm not just a dancer because I don't want to dance for myself. I dance for the audience. I'm an entertainer more than an artist. An artist and entertainer. I need communication.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a part that was lacking for me. And I decided, okay, I need to explore something new. Well, the Trox came to Torino to perform. And among other companies that came, then that I visited and that I approached, that I wanted to see if I wanted to be part of, this was the one that appealed me the most. And for many reasons. I had a wonderful opportunity to assist to the press conference and presentation of the performances. And not only I could assist to the performance, but I also had an insight to the backstage, if you want, to the meaning of this company, to what it really represents. And I already loved it. But then I also assisted to the performance. And as an audience, I felt what the audience was feeling around me. not only the joy and the happiness, but the intrigue that there was, like it was almost participating. They all
Right.
part of the show. And I said, that's exactly what I feel
What
that
you want to do, what you're lacking. That's what you were lacking at that time.
and have that in the performance. And I just loved it. And it's not so many times that you leave the theater and you hear people behind you saying, "Oh, I can't wait for them to come back because I just love the performance so much."
The same day that the show was just over, right?
And it's like, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I want to be. I want to be an artist for this kind of audience, for that feeling, that feedback. Chances are that the translator for our director during that tour, especially for the press conference, was a friend of mine from the theater in Torino. So it was an easy connection for me to get in touch with Tori, and I asked to audition. So because the Trucks they had two performances in the same town, the second day I could actually go and take class with them.
Right.
And that's how I met the Trucks really.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. I'm still here after almost 20 years.
Yeah. So, so as you just said, Rafa and I have this shared history because we've both been with the company. We both joined within the same year, so we've both been with the company for just over 2 decades now. So I've had the luxury of seeing Rafa perform all of the roles that he has performed within the company, which most people haven't had. So I'm really lucky about that. So Rafa, what is your favorite piece of the Trox rap? Maybe of what you've done. Why don't you tell us of the stuff you've performed? Right. Which one is your favorite?
Well, there are 3 different roles that I really think are emblematic for me, for my career, that I really loved. The first one is Raimonda's wedding, when I did Raimonda's
the lead,
Raimonda, because I really like her. I really like the fact that she's a princess, very regal, very looking down the nose in the beginning, because she's becoming a queen. She's getting married in the Raimonda's wedding, so she's becoming a queen. But at the end, she's also like a girl that wants to have fun, like in her variation, just like in any charda, it starts very slow, but then it speeds up and it gets a little bit more active, and it's very happy. And I feel it's because it represents the 2 facets of this character, meaning the regal one, taking the fact that she's becoming a queen, so she now needs to be a little bit more elegant and in command. But at the same time, she's just a young girl that wants to have fun. So it's a wedding. So probably she's also a little bit drunk at the end of the very she's like a little bit happy.
As you should in your wedding.
Sorry?
As you should in your wedding day.
Exactly. And the other thing that I love about Raimonda is the music, because it's really completely different from any other ballet. And I like the simplicity of her variation, mostly the solo that she dances is just with the piano, and to have something for the prima ballerina at the end of the ballet to play just by one piano
is rare.
Not only the instrument is incredible, and it means that simplicity sometimes is just the best, and you don't need more. You don't need more than that. And the steps of the choreography are also very, very simple. They're not technically so demanding, but because sometimes you don't need more than that. You don't always need 25 turns or big tricks, which happen later in the ballet, but not during the solo, right? So to me, that ballet was just something incredible and so unique that I loved it. And it represented what I really feel when I dance sometimes. The other one that, of course, I have to say is one of my favorites is Odette in Swan Lake. I have the luck of doing it really early in my career. I joined in May of 2001, and I think my first Odette was in end of January of 2002. So it was really pretty early in my career. And it's the signature piece for the Trox. So to be the prima ballerina of the first piece of the Trox, the prima ballerina, female character that enters the stage when we do that performance, it's quite representative and it's quite thrilling. And plus, it really sets the scene for the entire show. And it really tells not only the story of Swan Lake, but it tells what the Trox are about.
Yes.
It really says, okay, we are here. We are going to be technically very good. We are going to be doing Swan Lake. We're going to tell you Swan Lake, but we're also going to have fun with it.
Fun, right.
And we want you to feel comfortable with everything that we do on stage. So we come in, the prima ballerina that comes in, Odette, jumps and turns to the audience and with a big smile. But it's not a big smile in your face. It's a big smile saying, hey, we are in this together.
Yes.
Let's have fun together. And it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. It's one of the few roles that actually has that wonderful approach with the audience.
Combination.
Right? And it's very difficult as well, because you can feel right away from that smile if the audience is participating with you already, if they know
or not into it, yeah.
And if you need to build up.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that we need to remember now that I'm talking about my third thing. My third favorite ballet, which is The Dying Swan, which is the first thing that I've done in my career in Ballet Trockadero. And that happened even earlier than Odette. And it was also the last one that I've done in my dancing career with the Trocs. So it really represents my entire spectrum of my entire career,
right?
With the Trocs, the evolution of my career. And even though I never really changed much of the steps of my solo, there has been quite an evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's very interesting. It's one dancer on stage, a ballerina, with only the follow spot that is just following you around while you're dancing. Nothing else. You don't see anything else. So you don't see anything while you're dancing. So you really need to be in touch with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that communication, visual communication with the audience, because we really don't even see the first rows of
right.
when you have that follow spot on you. And it's really emblematic of also what the Trocs do. But it's only 2 minutes. It's not like Odette that you can feel the audience and build into the audience and do everything in 30 minutes. You have 2 minutes to really give it all and really feel that you're giving everything you do have and try to get to the audience in what you're doing. And the other difficult thing is that you are dancing, you started the variation dancing back to the audience. So they don't even see you. And they need to, you need to get a grasp on them just by being back to the audience. And then you turn around, and that's the moment of truth. And it's the moment when you understand if they're going to be with you or if you just
have to work a little bit harder.
Work on it. And again, you only have 2 minutes to really build something up. And luckily, we have things that help us, like feathers falling, and we are making fun of something that is such a tragic moment of a swan life. But we have fun with it. It's not that we're making fun. We are having
and it's also placed in the middle of the program. So if we've done our job at creating the art of the performance,
yes,
they're already with the suspension of disbelief and willing to take the trip with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But still, it's also one of the few things that we do in galas.
Right.
And it's easily taken out of the entire performance and done on its own. And that's when it's really interesting, because it's really representative of the company in 2 minutes. And it's wonderful, because I think that sometimes with only just 2 minutes and with barely any technique, you have more of an impact on the audience than a couple before you that has done Don Cupid or I don't know what else, and with tricks and turns and jumps. And then here you comes with your tutu losing feathers and having a lot of fun, and it's just amazing. It's really representative of what we do. So I think that those 3 pieces are my favorite ones.
So you have recently stopped performing a couple of years now and moved into your role of ballet master. Do you miss performing? And if so, what do you miss the most?
I don't really miss performing. I don't miss performing. I don't miss performing for many reasons again. Because when I train as a dancer, I already trained thinking that my career as a dancer would last only for a couple of years. And I need to think of something else to do afterwards, right? And I knew that I loved teaching. Because if I hadn't become a dancer, I would have become maybe a school teacher. I wanted to be a teacher my entire life. So teaching has always been something I wanted to do. And I said, yes, I would like to teach ballet. Teaching to me is just like when you're running the marathon and you pass how do you call it
The
in English?
baton. Do you pass the
Yeah,
baton? You pass the torch, right?
exactly, right. So it's like, okay, I've done my part. Now it's your turn to do your part. And I tell you not only my experience, but I tell you also the theory of what you're supposed to do. And on top, I mean, the two things together really should help the students, or in this case, my colleagues, to experience something new as well, right? To help them in their experience. So I always trained thinking that I wanted to become a teacher. So I don't really miss. I don't. It's not. I don't think that dancing. Uh, I had to stop dancing, so I have to replace it with something else.
Mm-hmm.
I just do something else, which I also like, right?
Right.
The other reason I don't really miss dancing is that I still dance a little bit when I take class, when I teach
Mm-hmm.
class, or when I have to rehearse with the guys. So I still have to move. So the physical aspect of it is still there, it's just not on stage. But that kind of communication that I needed to have when I was on stage, I now have when I do, I don't know, a Q&A before or after a show, or even just in this case, we are communicating with the audience somehow. So I still have a communication with the audience. I just don't have the two combined in the same moment. So I
Right.
dance in a way, and I communicate with the audience in the other way. But I still have these two aspects.
You're
Uh,
fulfilling those needs within you as a person, as an artist.
exactly. So I'm really like rewarded with everything I do even now. And actually, there is a plus,
Mm-hmm.
which is I'm still part with the Trucks. I still participate in the performance. You know, I'm still part of it, but I also get to see it.
Right.
Right? Yes, when I watch the performance, I watch it as a ballet master. So I need to take, unfortunately, some notes. And the next day, unfortunately, I have to go to my colleagues and say, well, you were not in line, or you should do this better. Or, oh, by the way, congratulations for that part. Was the balance was great. Yes. But I still sit in the audience. And every night, I still experience the first experience that I had 20 years ago with an audience around me. I still feel people saying, I just can't wait for them to come back.
That laughter.
It,
Yes.
it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. It's not like going to the office where you know that every day is going to be kind of the same. Even though our routine when we go to the theater can be the same day after day, and you need to go and you need to set in your dressing room, then you need to go to the stage and warm up and do class and then space the same ballet that you did the night before, but it was a different stage, so things are going to be different. So it could be the same, and yet it's never the same.
Right.
So,
Right.
and the live performance is a live performance, so it's never the same. I cannot be bored with that. So, no, I don't miss dancing because I still have a wonderful job and it's something that I really like doing.
And since you say that you've always wanted to teach, or you always felt that that was going to be a progression of your career, now that you have the opportunity to work as a ballet master, have you gained any further insight that you hadn't necessarily prepared for in your current position? You know what I mean? Like, are you now aware of something that, even though you always knew this was going to be your progression, you maybe never realized that this was something else that you could learn?
I want to say that the most important thing that I kind of already knew, but it's really tangible now that I am the ballet master, is that
Mm-hmm.
when you're a dancer, you wake up every morning and you're responsible for your well-being for that day so that you can perform that night. Yourself. You need to make sure that your legs don't hurt, your feet don't hurt, you can turn your neck, you can really move. It's all about you. And then you go into the stage and or into the studio and you rehearse, and it's again about you and your ability of doing something. So when you're dancing, especially, I mean, we are dancers and we are in front of a mirror when we are in the studio, right? So it's a communication between my body and what I see in the mirror. So it's always about me, right? As a dancer, it's always about me. Yes, at the end, you are part of a group. You need to be in line. You need to be in the corps de ballet or do it. It's all about the company, but you need to take care about yourself, right? When you are the ballet master, your focus has to shift to the company, to already
Mm-hmm.
something else. It's not about you. It's about the performance. It's about the company, the well-being of the company as a one. the company, but also as each individual.
Right.
You need to really think ahead already. Okay, we have, I make an example, Paquita. Paquita tonight is going to be this person. That person needs this kind of class. But at the same time, Swan Lake is going to be done by that other person. That other person needs something else. So in every class, you need to think of what everyone needs in order for the performance to be very good and in order for their performance to be good. Their own performance and the entire performance. So it's a little bit more demanding about you are coming second, third person to worry about. And then there's the company, and then there's the individuals of the company.
Right.
So it's not about you anymore. And then it's not only about that particular performance, which hopefully you have prepared already. So you're kind of comfortable with the idea, but each day and each performance is about the next and the future.
Right, especially with us constantly touring. Right.
You need to think ahead so that you can prepare for something else. And every time you watch a performance, you need to be careful because you might see something that is telling you, oh, I have never seen that person do such a thing. Maybe that means that that person can actually do certain roles or other things or move into something that, I don't know, if you've always been a romantic dancer, now you can be more of a virtuoso dancer. You just prove that you can do technical things. So it's important for the future of the company. So it's not about today anymore. It's about, or today's performance. It's about the future again. So it's a little bit more open as a visual. It's not about
as opposed to when you're a dancer just preparing for that night's role. Yeah. How are you? Since we've been off touring like all companies for several months now, what are you doing? Have you fallen into a rhythm? What are you doing to keep yourself balanced and in shape physically and mentally?
I want to say that I'm lucky because I'm very resourceful. So for myself, I always find even these little things that can keep me entertained. So
never bored.
I'm not bored. I'm not bored, which is already a plus because I know a lot of people that actually have a big problem with that. And the problem for me starts now because we're starting to approach summer and it's starting to be very nice outside, and you just want to go out and you don't want to stay inside. So far, it hasn't been so difficult because actually here in New York it's been raining a lot, so it was easy to stay inside. You didn't feel like you need to go out. I have learned to think a little bit more about what I always wanted to do and I never had the time. Simple example, I wanted to read. I like reading, and I could never read anymore because every time I start opening a book, I fall asleep. Usually by the time I could read during a normal day, it was by the end of the day when I was going to bed or late, just passing out because I was tired. Now I can read at 4 p.m. Oh, wow. That's something.
Without feeling guilty about it either, right?
We are not taking away your energy or your focus on something else. You actually, hey, I can read and I can focus on what I'm reading. And you can actually give it a thorough read to everything you're reading. You know, it's not just reading them like a novel, just read the novel and get to the end of it. You can really get into it because you can spend time in it. I've been a little bit busy with some social media things that we have. A couple of things. I've been communicating a lot virtually with a lot of people. That has also kept me alive because I always felt that I was with someone. I was never alone. Sometimes I actually had to turn my phone off because I was tired of talking to people. So I really need to say, okay, that's it. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And I've taken one of the 25,000 classes that we have on Zoom or all the other platforms that we have nowadays to take ballet class. And I've done it. I've followed a couple of classes, usually a couple of classes per day. Very simple because, I mean, in your apartment, it's not that you can do big.
New York living.
It's not like being in a studio. So I want to say that I've done a little bit of movement as well. Now that the weather is nicer, I try to walk a little bit more so that I can actually really move a little bit. And that's about it. That's about we could do actually. I mean,
Yeah.
I
But just keeping
need a
that
lot of
balance too, the physical and the mental, if it keeps you
yeah.
balanced. So,
Well, luckily, as I said, mentally, I'd never had a problem.
yeah.
You know,
You have a book.
as I said, just like it's kind of the same thing as dancing and teaching. I love them both, so I don't miss one just because I'm doing the other. So
Right.
I like to travel a lot. Really, I love to travel, and probably by now I'm starting to feel that I really want to go. But I also miss staying at home and finally feel that I belong somewhere instead of just being
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
So I could actually eat out of my dishes and my drink
I
tea out of
know,
my
not a
cup every
paper
day,
cup.
know?
You can
So
actually use your
this
own
is
stuff.
one thing now.
What a wonderful thought. Well,
Yeah.
Rafa, thank you so very much for the time you've taken to chat with me and with everyone who's watching, because I enjoy our time together like no other. Before I pass over for final thoughts that you may want to share with us, I want to take the time to reinforce the fact that, as you all know, closures and cancellations because of the pandemic have majorly disrupted the access to revenue for our company and all other dance and arts organizations around the world. If you are enjoying the content that is being put out in social media, in our platform and other platforms, and it's within your ability to do so, please consider donating to the Trox or an arts organization of your preference. You can do so by visiting us at www.trockadero.org/donate, as you see below. I'm also including the company's Instagram address and Rafa's personal Instagram address. You should follow both of us. Additionally, there's been no better time to seek further education on anti-racism, and for everybody to do our part to end this social pandemic once and for all as well. So on that vein, Rafa, any final thoughts you want to share with the audience before we say goodbye?
Well, I just want to say that this has been very difficult times, really very difficult times. The only thing that I hope in, let's embrace the new normal that is going to happen in the future with a lot of positive thoughts. And let's try to think of these past few months as a moment of growth and a moment of like self-learning and really something that has put everything on different perspective, and really to give a lot of thoughts. We usually take things for granted, and now we like everything was taken away from us. We, as I said, we have had a lot of opportunities to, for example, to take classes in our apartment, taking a ballet bar, holding on to a sink, probably right, a kitchen sink, or to a fridge. Well, yes, and we could continue to do it for an extra couple of months, probably, but we cannot continue to dance unless we go back to the studios. We need a sprung floor. So we need to be careful that we are not actually getting injured just because we have a passion for ballet that is telling us we can dance anywhere we can, but it's not true. We actually need a sprung floor. We actually need a mirror so that we can control what we do and our movements. Ballet, just like any other kind of sports and art, movement art, is very demanding, and we need to really be doing it in the right place. So we need to go back to the studio. So let's not forget what we have achieved so far. Let's be careful. If we need to wait for an extra month in order to go back
Wear
to
a
the
mask.
studio,
Yes.
but let's wear a mask and let's stay safe so that when we can go back to the studio we can actually do it, because otherwise we're going to just ruin everything we have learned so far. Really, let's take this moment to think about what happened and learn from it instead of just being depressed.
Yeah. Find a way to stay inside for an extra couple of weeks. It'll save us all in the future. And come see us when we're back to touring, which I am sure and hopeful, as we all are, that it will happen. And we will be back with you very shortly. Thank you, Rafa.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to leave you, as we say goodbye, I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite Rafa footage of dancing, which he didn't include in his favorites.
No.
But it's wonderful nonetheless, and you'll enjoy it too. It's going to be him watching Giselle. I only have time for a short clip, so please stay with us. And thank you again, Rafa.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone who's watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.